25 board meeting to order. At this time, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Baltnott, you mind praying for us?
Y'all would, let's pray. God, we love you, we praise you, we believe in you, God. We thank you for being so good to us, God. We ask for wisdom, for direction, for understanding. God, help us to lead, guide, and direct this administration, this board, these students, these teachers, the best way we see fit according to your will. Thank you, God, for safety, for bringing us all here tonight. Help us get home safely also. We love you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tripp. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if we will, I feel led that we need to acknowledge that we lost a Crescent High School student about a week ago after a short stint with cancer. And so if we could just observe a moment of silence in her honor for a second, I think that would be appropriate. Thank you. We were able to award her diploma and do a little ceremony for her a couple weeks ago prior. So thank you.
Okay, at this time, we will do accommodations.
All right.
This is a fun time.
As you can tell, we have a room full of people tonight, which is always a great thing. And so this is a kind of a first in the districts in South Carolina, but we were part of a strategic compensation pilot to recognize outstanding teachers for student growth. And when this opportunity came about, we applied for all of our schools. And a lot of districts applied for all of their schools statewide. And the state chose Star Iva Middle School to pilot the program in. And so tonight we're here to honor Star Iva teachers who are getting some awards, but you'll see on the slide that this year in South Carolina there were $2.5 million in total awards allocated for this first round. Okay, more than 400 teachers across 37 schools are receiving awards, and the average award is $6,300. And I'm pleased to also tell you that Star Iva will once again be a part of this program, and we will also be able to reapply for our other schools to be a part of this program too. So it's encouraging because the state has more money set aside, and they have some money left over this year. So it's exciting to do that. So I never thought I'd see a day like this in education, and I've been around 37 years now. So we want to recognize our awardees. And Marty, I think you need to come to the front as we call him up. As soon as we get the real checks, but this is what's coming. So our first awardee is Lynn Grice, 7th grade math at Star Iva Middle School. And yes, these numbers are correct. $15,920. And stay up, just kind of move over. And I'll tell you, I don't think Lynn will mind me saying this. When I went to talk to her at first, I said, do you remember how much you made your first year of teaching? And because she and I kind of started pretty close to the same time. And I'm like, we think it was about $20,000. So teacher pay's gone up, but this is phenomenal. Our second teacher is Stacy Van Blake, 7th grade math, $14,440. Okay, our third teacher, Rose Pullholtz, 8th grade math, $3,610. Okay, Lisa Dilworth, 7th grade ELA. She is actually a retiree who's worked for us for several years, but she did actually retire fully last year. And so when I invited her to the board meeting, she said, "Miss Hip, I appreciate the $7,220, but I will be on a cruise." I said, "Well, you've got permission to buy more jewelry then, because," so we're honored that she was able to do this, and she will receive the money even as a retiree because it's based on last year. Okay, and then our final one, Nikki Simpson, Special Services, $1,390. And I will tell you, it's difficult to get any of these awards, but in special ed, you teach fewer students who are in the pool to actually move, and so an award for a special ed teacher is pretty special. All right, let's not miss this photo op, okay? My disclaimer with that too is, yes, you will still be taxed, but retirement does not come out of that, so you'll still see a good chunk of that money. Okay, it's also my honor, as if you've been to our board meetings this year, we have been honoring our bus driver of the month. So I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, I get off script sometimes because I just get excited, and so it's hard to be a bus driver. And we have some very good ones, and I will tell you, Angie Mattress is outstanding. And so Angie Mattress is our bus driver of the month. She is consistently polite and accepting to all of the children who ride her bus. All students love her, and she treats everyone with respect. And I think that's probably what you can say about in any context you meet Angie. Angie also cleans our office and does a phenomenal job. And just does really anything we ask her to do. So I want to congratulate you and commend you, Angie, on being the October Bus Driver of the Month. Yeah, she's right there. She's just not going to get up. Okay, now let's go back to script. We have some other things to recognize and celebrate today. We have, and I'll mention our report cards a little bit later in the meeting, but we have 2 schools that were named excellent on the South Carolina report card for 24-25. And the first one is Star Elementary School. And you see that picture of Star Elementary School in the shape of a 50. They're also ranked 50th in the state out of about 630 schools. And so that's their highest ever ranking. And so we're proud to celebrate their excellent score and their being 50 in the state. So Ashley and any of your team who are here who want to come up? And I will say, I should have refreshed my memory before tonight, but to have the exact numbers for you, but I can tell you that Star Elementary School in math and ELA, 3rd grade and 4th grade, was well over 80% meets and exceeds, which is phenomenal. 5th grade wasn't far behind, but they were I think ELA was still in that ballpark. 5th grade math was a little bit down, but that's just a phenomenal part of that process. Okay, we also have Crescent High School as an excellent school. And as Mr. Roberts comes up and anybody here on his team, I'll say, when Cliff came on, I told Cliff, I said, I have 2 expectations about the report card. I don't know if he remembers this or not. I said, graduation rate, on-time graduation rate, better be above 90% every year. And your college and career readiness rating should be above 80% every year. And he has done that and much more to keep that excellent report card. Because if you go deep in report cards, if you have a multilingual learner population, it's really hard to get that rating because that test is hard. And so this is a year that Crescent had that metric on their report card, and they still managed to maintain that excellent rating. So that's quite an accomplishment. Okay, the state of South Carolina also recognizes gold and silver performance based on test scores. And so we're excited that we have 3 of our schools that achieved either Palmetto Gold or Palmetto Silver. So I should have let Cliff stay up here. So which one do you have, Marty? Okay, so we have Crescent High School, who has silver high performance for the Palmetto Gold and Silver Award. And then we also have, we have gold performance, which is the highest performance you can get, of course, in this is Flat Rock Elementary School. And then we also have Star Elementary School that has a silver high performance. I think that's all of them, but let me make sure. Okay. As you can see, there's great things going on in Anderson School District 3, and we are in a few minutes going to have a presentation about our proposed middle school. So I do encourage you to stay for that if you would like. But if you need to leave after this part of the program, that's understandable, and it would be okay for you to do so now. So thank you. Move on. I'm going to, looks like we have some visitors here. Are you all AU students? So I want to thank you for coming to our board meeting tonight. And in case you haven't noticed, this is the best district in South Carolina. So, you know, we will welcome you to come back and work for us when you're done with your program, okay? All right, at this point, this is the time of the year that we annually elect board officers. We elect a chairman and a secretary. So at this time, we will do the election for the chairman.
Thank you.
All right, we have Mr. Watt. Mr. Watt. Marty. Marty.
Was that you?
And Marty. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We appreciate
That's
it.
a railroad.
And I should say, per policy, a board member can serve as chairman 2 years in a row, and after that, they cannot. And same way with the secretary position, too. But we have to have an election every year, however. Okay, this is election for secretary. So we have Hannah Arnold. Hannah Arnold. Hannah Arnold. Hannah. And Justin. So we have 4 for Hannah and 1 for Justin, so congratulations.
Thank you.
You are reelected. All right.
Thank y'all. Appreciate the confidence. I promise I'll try to do my best. At this time, we will have the consent of the agenda. Will we have any updates or changes?
Nope.
Hearing none, I'll ask for a vote.
I'll make a motion, you accept.
Have a motion, need a second. And a second. All in favor? 5-0. Hope everybody had the opportunity to read the minutes or look over them. We need to have any changes or anything. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, if I could, we need to change the delegate assembly appointment. That needs to be flipped around. Mr. Justin Burdette is the alternate, and I am the delegate for the assembly coming
Okay.
up. That needs to be changed.
Okay. I take that in a form of a motion with the
Yes.
amended. Okay, we need a second.
Second.
All right, all in favor? 5-0. Okay. This time, Mr. Matthew, we will listen to our financial reports for the month.
Sounds good. All right, I'll start us off by reviewing general fund performance through the end of October. So through October 31st, our expenditures have exceeded our revenues by $2,291,531. This is to be expected at this point in the year, simply just due to the timing of the revenues coming in. Usually October and November is the lowest points in the year for us in terms of cash flow, largely due to the property tax revenue starting to trickle in December, and January is where it really hits big. And this chart here kind of illustrates that for you. So we expect to be here in the red for this month and probably the next couple before we get back in the black starting in January. So, but as far as year-to-year comparison, everything seems to be in line with where we expect to be at this point in the year. Revenues coming in on pace with prior year, slightly ahead, just a hair, but that's largely due in part to the fee and lieu money that we discussed last month that we received from Santee Cooper. We received that in October this year. We got in November last year. So just a bit of a timing difference. Otherwise, the revenues are looking good and where we expect them to be. Expenditures also on track to where we expect it to be as far as a percentage of budget, very comparable to where we've been in years past. A little bit higher on the payroll cost percentages. We touched on that a little bit last month with how we budget like a speech therapist position, how that gets transferred over to purchase services once we have to contract that out. We've also had a significant number of certificate upgrades this year. By count this morning, we had 33 certificate upgrades for our teachers, so which is a good thing, but also comes with a cost. That's been a little bit of a surprise for us, but still nothing to be overly concerned about at this point in the game. I touched on our ADM last month. We had a decrease of about 32 students from the 135th day to the 45th day. Those numbers are still being finalized statewide, but we do have some preliminary numbers. And I know we've talked about our state aid classrooms calculation. With all the moving pieces of it, the gist of it is you want to grow faster than the state in order to not lose money. So the preliminary numbers from an ADM perspective, the state decreased by 0.66%, and we decreased by 1.21%. So I mentioned last month we expect to take a hit once the 45-day numbers get finalized and that funding gets updated in January. So that just kind of reaffirms that thought that we had last month. So, but again, we have a conservative budget and we got a little room to take a little bit of a hit there. So as soon as we get that information, I'll definitely pass that along to you. But right now, everything's preliminary. And also, the other thing I want to kind of put on your radar is very early, but the tax books did open for the new tax year, and the assessments look very encouraging for both operational and the debt side. So we saw some growth across the board, some big jumps in market values for homes and mobile homes. But of course, that's the classification where there'll be a lot of appeals submitted to the county where they'll start off as a 6% property and get reclassified to 4% based on legal residence. So a lot of moving parts there, a lot of movement still to go, but early signs from just a big picture standpoint is very encouraging on the property tax side. But we'll see as it comes in the next few months, but it was encouraging to see there, and we'll keep you updated there. Any questions on the general
You
fund?
mentioned fee and lieu for Santee Cooper.
Yes.
I met with them about 3 weeks ago. They're in our fire department jurisdiction, so we had to go down and do updates every so often. Anyhow, they mentioned that they were expanding.
Okay.
Now, will the fee and lieu with the county stay the same, even with the expansion, or will the county try to renegotiate? Or do you know?
I believe fee and lieu's for the most part are pretty well fixed in advance. There may be some factors that come into play with it if additional investments get made there, but again, a lot of that's done at the county's economic development office that we don't have the full access to. But a lot of times, some companies who have fee and lieu agreements, they still get taxed on any equipment that gets put in and things of that nature, so that we can see some fluctuation on those line items for sure.
You know, hopefully it'll be a positive for us. Anybody else got anything?
All right, and just real quickly on the local option sales tax. So we did receive October sales tax collection for the month last Wednesday, and it came in an amount of $301,383.21. Just to kind of put it in perspective, it's the 8th largest collection to date. Of that 301,000, $60,276.64 is required to go to servicing our debt for property tax relief, and then the remaining 80%, which is available for capital use, was $241,000. So continues to come on strong. Kind of along the lines of the ADM conversation and our decrease, and looking at the preliminary ADM numbers for the whole county. It looks like our share of it, so we're currently at 8.53%, is going to go down to about 8.50%. So relative to the other districts in Anderson County, our portion of the total pot is staying relatively the same. There's some districts moving up, some going down. But countywide, all 5 districts cumulatively lost students. So our percentage usually gets updated in January there, again, when the 45-day numbers get finalized, so we'll see a slight difference in the total pot when that comes in. moving forward, we would expect to have similar levels of collections for the next couple of months, and then really January and February, which you kind of see there on the bar graph there, are typically our heaviest collections, because that typically reflects our holiday spending. So still is coming in really, really well, and far exceeded expectations for sure. So any questions on sales tax? All right. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now have Ms. Hill give our superintendent report. Actually, you're going to do a presentation, aren't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just do everything from up there if that's
Okay, that's cool. Go ahead.
Okay, to start off with, I just want to, and we've mentioned report cards, and so I just want to highlight this tonight, and we'll go deeper into them in future meetings, but you see just some numbers that, these are statewide numbers of how many excellent schools, how many good, average, and below average, and what categories those were in. So that's just something I like to share. When you look at our schools, this is how I like to show our trends and also just where we are. So as you know, we had 2 excellent schools. We had 2 good schools, Flat Rock Elementary and Iva Elementary, and then Star Iva just barely slipped to average. We will get them back up by next year, right, Ms. Wilson? And so, because we know what we need to work on there. And so, in general, we're trending where we need to be. I think Flat Rock missed excellent maybe by 1 point, but that's still 1 point we've got to get back. And so, but I'll share more information with you. But what you'll see that really affected those were the same things we've talked about: 5th grade math, 8th grade math, and our improvement rating, which is still a little bit of a mystery statewide how you get that. But we're basically, it's how much you grow your lowest 20%. So more to come with that, but I wanted to go ahead and put that out because these were announced last week. Any questions about those at this point? Okay, the next thing I just wanted to mention, in last month's meeting, we talked a little bit in general about our inter-district transfer policy. And so I was at a state meeting last week, and Superintendent Weaver gave this outline. And so what I want to present to the board tonight is to say, let's postpone acting on that policy until we see the policy that the state puts out in I think it'll be mid-January, thereabout, when the state will put out a model policy related to inter-district transfer. And then what they will allow us to do, if you have an existing policy and it meets the criteria, you can keep your policy. If not, you can make modifications to your policy to make it in line with the state's policy. So my suggestion for us is, let's get that state model policy that will make sure it's letter of the law, compare it to our policy, and then any changes we want to make in our policy, we will be well within budget time to make changes to that. So that's the timeline I'd like to follow, because you see, mid-March, we will have to pass an amended policy, or at least start that process. So any questions or concerns with that?
And so this just follows whether we'll have students pay out-of-district fees.
Yeah.
The ones that we currently have coming into their district.
Right. I think so. I think that's the biggest thing it addresses, and I think there will be some verbiage in the state policy, because, you know, some of the scholarship funds can be used for that. So I think the verbiage in the state policy is going to address how those funds can be drawn down, how they can be utilized, how a district can qualify for students to be able to apply for those funds. And then I think we can take that information and then revisit our out-of-district fee.
And that way we'll know how much either we're losing or if we're not losing as much money by not charging.
Right, right.
Students that are coming in
Right.
the district.
So I think it's just the best use of our time to wait till we get to that and then bring it all back in one package. Okay?
That's good.
All right, now for the fun part. Many of you in here have heard parts of this presentation, and so we've added some things, we've taken some things out, but I'm excited tonight to give the board the Premier Progress presentation. And I want to thank our committee members who are here tonight. We have formed a committee, and Scott Hawkins is the president of that committee, and Sean McGee is the secretary treasurer of that committee. And then we have a lot of the members here who will actually be the group that spearheads this partnership in our community to share information and et cetera. So thank you for being here and supporting this. And at any time, if you have any comments, this is the time I'll give you permission to make those. But this is our Premier Progress 2026. And so why change is needed, and I've shown this slide to many groups. Why do we need change at Star Iva? We've needed change at Star Iva for 20 years, okay? And so in this presentation, we'll highlight why we need change, why we're here today at this point to ask for this formally, and how we think we can get there. So 4 major categories: age and infrastructure. Part of that is, in a building this old, you're going to have narrow hallways, small classroom, projected population growth, and then the key structures that are undersized is the kitchen, cafeteria, and gym. So kind of in this first part of the presentation, I'll highlight some of that. Okay, narrow hallways. Our hallways at Star Iva Middle are 8 foot 6 inches wide. And in a modern building, built in the last 20 years probably, those hallways are 12 foot wide. We were at the Star Fall Festival a couple of Saturdays ago, and Hannah, in her infinite wisdom, we were talking about hallways, and she's like, well, how wide is this walking path? Well, the walking path was 8 foot. So if you ever go to Star Walking Track up there and you're walking on the asphalt part of the track, that's how wide Star Iva's hallways are. For 650 children, that is not very wide, okay? So that's one thing we need in a new building. Now, I always have to say, because our staff takes great care of our facilities, and in that picture, that floor shines, okay? It may not be wide enough, but we still make it look good. And so I think that's just a tribute to our staff at every one of our schools. Okay, we also got creative because I thought one day, well, Dylan, you and I are going to measure every classroom at Star Iva Middle School. And I'm like, no. Let me think about this. Emily has students that need learning experiences, hands-on. So the students at Star Iva measured the classrooms at Star Iva Middle School, and the majority of the classrooms are 704 square foot. All right, modern classrooms and modern buildings are 850 square foot. There's a big difference in putting 25 students in a classroom at 704 and 25 students in a classroom at 850. Now, we even try to keep our classes smaller than that, but even if you bring that down to 20, that class with furniture and the air conditioning unit and everything else is small. And so that's one way we can better serve our children. Now, in the newer part of the building, in that wing where you've got the band room and a couple other classrooms, there are probably 4 classrooms that maybe are 800 square foot. Okay, but the majority in that building are 704. All right, this is students in one of those classrooms, and you can tell it's very full. You can also tell in there the furniture is small, probably smaller than some of the furniture you would see in traditional classrooms, but I think it helps it fit. And that furniture, I think, also is meant to be kind of put in different configurations too. But that's kind of what a standard classroom looks like. This is the robotics lab. I don't know where we have room for children in that room. And in the new proposed school, the robotics lab is twice this size with storage. The ag classroom, which the present building really doesn't have a true ag classroom. We did bring back ag this year, and we have an ag teacher and ag space, will be twice the size of a traditional classroom. And in fact, our ag teacher and robotics teacher had a conversation with the architect today about how that space is going to look. And so in a few weeks, we'll be able to show you some ideas of how we think that space will look. Okay, of course, these are our huge it's kind of a, what you call that, oxymoron, our huge undersized spaces. Our gym space is grossly undersized for our population. In the new building, the gym is rated to seat 850. Okay, remember that number when I show you the next picture. Cafeteria space, this is probably the smallest cafeteria in the district. And at Star Iva, they now run six lunch periods to get students through, which in a traditional school setting, you'd run a sixth grade lunch, a seventh grade lunch, and an eighth grade lunch. But our lunches have to be split to accommodate the children. And you can look at the size of the kitchen. And again, our food service staff does phenomenal work, okay? But they're doing phenomenal work in a small space, and we're monitoring students in a small space. And so I just want you to see the need there. Okay, there's our population sitting on the floor. I think that was the day I got slimed, and Emily and David and lots of us got just lots of things poured on us because they raised a lot of money for United Way. But, there again, seating space for our students. All right, I wanted to show you this just as a I like graphs for some reason, but to show you that our population in general is growing when other school districts' populations are decreasing. Now, you may say, well, Matthew and I are in conflict in what we just said, so let me give you the perspective here. This graph was taken from a study that was done related to the funding formula for the 24-25 school year. So this is where these numbers come from, the final change. And so if you look, that first blip up, because I know it may be hard to see, is Anderson School District 3. Okay, and so all the other Anderson County districts are below the line, which means they're losing students. And so I just wanted to give you a visual of this is that in general, we're one of the few districts that our trend is that we're growing. Now, right now on 45-day, we are down a little bit, but that will be reevaluated by the state at the 135-day. And so then we will really find out for this present school year where we failed. Did we overall grow or did we overall lose? But I'm still proud because in comparison, everybody else is losing. And what they're losing to are charter schools, online schools, home schools, things like that. On the far right where you see the great things going up, the big lines going up, notice that that's Erskine Charter School, that's Limestone Charter School, and that's another online school option. And I mean, it's just a fact that those are the school options that in lots of places are growing and moving students out of our traditional public school. I feel like, we're marketing well and we put out a good product, and I think that's keeping us growing and in a good spot. But that's why I wanted to show you that, because that was just a chart that tells that. Okay, other thing talking about growing population, and Matthew alluded to this, is finally some houses are being built in Star and Iva and Flat Rock. And so the value of our mill did go up 7.5%, and it's gone up steadily probably for the last 3 years. Now, it's still not where we need it to be, but it's going in the right direction. And so those are just some of the things. But if you don't drive out the Flat Rock area very much, you need to just go drive around the Flat Rock area and see the houses being built. But you can also drive around the Iva and Star area, and you'll start to see houses being built in places where we haven't seen houses being built before. Okay, so why now? All right, told you we've needed to do this for 20 years. So why did it happen now? And those of you who've heard me say this 3 times, I apologize, but I'm just to put everything out there for everybody. The state needs assessment is probably where this started in June of 2024. There was a little bit of the capital money left that Molly Spearman actually got put in the state budget probably 4 years ago. And so there was a needs assessment done for us, and it showed Star Iva as our greatest need for replacement based on age of the building and layout of the building and anticipated population growth. Okay, just because students will fit into a building does not mean it's the best way to educate them. And when I'm talking about small group settings, collaborative learning, things like that, that in a building with small classrooms and classrooms that are totally packed, because we really don't have an extra classroom at Star Iva Middle School right now. If we did, we'd probably consider adding a social studies and a science teacher in that staff to make those classes smaller. So that was one piece of it. That needs assessment allowed me to lobby Superintendent Ellen Weaver for $5 million of that leftover money. And I lobbied her all year for more. I even talked to her today. And so, but there's no more of that money to be had. Now, legislative session starts in January, and we will start lobbying again. Okay, and that infrastructure bank is going to come up again. But, right now, we are where we are today. Okay, the 2 property acquisitions we were able to get in October of 2024, the 74 acres near the Star Post Office, and then the I think it's totally 118 acres of what everybody knows as the Campbell land on the other side of Good Hope Church Road. We were able to get in July of 2025, which is the ideal spot for the new middle school. Okay, that's Superintendent Weaver walking around with Mr. Coates last year. I think that's the art classroom, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Robotics, okay. Didn't have the big table up. That's what threw me. Okay, we had a few community meetings, just 2 community meetings open to the public because we started getting a lot of questions about the land. So there was a couple of December meetings, and then in April, we went through the formal process to name the architect and the contractor. And Mr. Watt and Mr. Holbrook sat in on about all day. I think there was 8 or 10 contractors that presented and interviewed, and Harper Construction won the bid. And Harper is somewhat a local company to us just because of some of their connections with the Harper family. Even though their main headquarters is in Greenville, they have a lot of Anderson connections and a lot of connections. So I think they had the best package, quite honestly. So, and then in May, we did some meetings with Star Island Middle School teachers and staff to work on the renderings, and many of you've seen the renderings. If you haven't, I've got some pictures, and they're out here. And then September, we had our first community partners meeting. And that's when many of you in this room, I just want to tell you, I appreciate you being a part of that. Appreciate you sharing information about it, because that's really what we want to do in this process, is tell the community about the need and how we can get there. Okay, we were at the Iowa Depot Days and the Star Fall Festival, had lots of good conversations. Lots of you were there. Again, just talking to people about the plans and the renderings. Okay, gets us to tonight. Okay, there will be a resolution presented to the board to formally do a bond referendum for this project. And then from that point, we will continue more direct community meetings. I've already am scheduled to speak in some churches, to speak in some fire departments. I'm available. I work for free. And just simply will come share information. I cannot tell anybody how to vote, and that's not my role in this. My role in this is to share this information, to tell you the need, to tell you the cost, so that at the end of the day, the voter can make an informed decision. All right, that's what we're trying to do, and that's what the point of the community meetings will be, is just to answer everybody's questions and make sure everybody has facts. Okay, the bond vote will be March the 10th. I had one community person, which I appreciated this. She said, well, I tried to vote, yes, last week. I said, well, it wasn't on there with the road tax. Thank heavens. But please, please make sure you go back and vote March the 10th, okay? With a positive outcome, we'll be ready to break ground in May of 2026. The building will be designed to that point. And, if we're breaking ground in 2026, then we're moving into that building. January 2028 is a very optimistic date. Things would have to fall in line perfectly, and it would just be so clear that that would be an easy move, that we would do it. More likely, it's going to be August of 2028, okay, that first group would go in there. Okay, this is the question we've waited to answer till tonight, because we got our millage number last week, and we wanted to give everybody the most exact cost we had. So projected cost is $60 million. This is what we project would be the worst case scenario to the taxpayer based on your home and debt service on your home. Okay, so you see a homeowner for $100,000 in your house per year, that's $60. You break it down per month, that's $5. Okay, $200,000, of course, it just doubles to $120. You break that down per month, that's $10. That used to be a drive-through meal at Burger King. Unfortunately, it's probably not that anymore. But and then $300,000 and so on, okay? Homestead exemption, those homeowners with a homestead exemption, Matthew, correct me if I'm wrong, homestead exemption, you're not taxed on the first $50,000 of your house. And so if you're at that $100,000, then it's $30 per year. All right. Then from that point, you get that $60 per 100,000. So at 200,000, that's 90. So $7.50 a month. For 300,000, that's $150 per month. Per month, not, let's take that out. Per year, that's $12.50 per month, okay? We do anticipate this will decrease with time due to more projected growth and some potential for some new industry in here. I know you've heard about the potential Duke project coming in, and they're still doing studies on that. So, again, this is what is projected. We know if we broke ground today and we had to start taxing today, that's what it would be. The other thing with this is we do not anticipate having to even bring this in for 2 years of the project. So to give you a comparison to that, and I want to make sure I give this clear disclaimer. These are Anderson 4's real numbers. These are not Anderson 3's numbers anymore. Okay, so when you look at this slide, but Anderson 4 put this out a couple of weeks ago because they just bought their bonds for their big project. And so 2 years ago, in November of 2023, when they went out to their taxpayers, those were their anticipated numbers, 64, 128, 192. Okay, they thought they would have a 16 mil tax increase. Now, ours is projected to be a 15 mil tax increase, I didn't say that earlier. Okay, they bought their bonds 3 to 4 weeks ago because they had 2 years of building where they had a ban and didn't have to add any millage on yet, which is what we're anticipating doing. So they bought their bonds, more growth, better interest rates, and so you see that actual ask was half of what the original ask was. So now their real numbers is $32 at 100,000, 64 and 96. And instead of having to do the 16 mil increase, their mil increase was 8. So that's what we're really working toward. But, I'm going to go back. But these are the numbers we have to anticipate or have to share because that is our worst case scenario. Does that make sense? Okay, some renderings very quickly, and you see better pictures outside. But overall picture of the school, front entrance of Crescent Middle School. And of course, we anticipate changing the name to make everything match up because it's on the Crescent Curve. It's there beside Crescent High School. All the branding is the same. My middle school staff tells me that lots of times when they go play sports, they get called Crescent Middle School anyway. So I think it's just prophetic that's what we're supposed to do when we get it on this curve. This will be the bus drop-off and the athletic entrance from that side. One thing about this building that's going to be great is buses will be able to go out the bottom side of Crescent, go straight across Good Hope Church Road, and go into that bus entrance. Okay, we won't have the amen about the traffic at Star Ivor right now, but if you want any feedback about that, just talk to a few people. The car drop-off will be on the other end. It will come off of 81. It will have ample stacking space, so cars will be off of 81. Okay, if you want to know what that looks like at drop-off and pick-up, and I'm being serious here, go to North Point Elementary School in Anderson at drop-off or pick-up time. And you will see cars are not in the road. That our stacking lane is going to be designed a lot like theirs. The setup's designed a lot like theirs. And I can pass that school either pick up or drop off, and you're never stopped unless you're just at that time that the crossing guard stopped you to let the lane go the other way. So that's going to be a feature of this school. And that's a convenience feature, but that's also a safety feature. When you're talking about cars going in and out, buses going in and out, that's just makes everything safer. Here's a projection look of the cafeteria. It may not look exactly like this, but just look at the space. and the brightness and the serving line area. Okay, the gym, look at the bleachers. Space for students to sit. You don't see any lights drawn in there yet, but I promise you there will be lights. Okay, but this is really what this project is about. These are some predominantly third graders, but I think there may be a fourth grader or two in there. If you look real close, they've got Crescent Middle School shirts on. The third graders group will be the first group of sixth graders moving in, if that's an August opening. The fourth grade group will be the first group of seventh graders, and the fifth grade group will be the first group of eighth graders. That's why this project is important. It's because it's about our children, and it's about our children probably at the most difficult part of their development. Because middle school is a difficult time for children and for teachers sometimes. So, because they're teaching those children. You know, elementary school, everything's just, I won't say easy, but, you know, there's lots of attention there. Middle school becomes harder, and that's why we've got to address our middle school students. And then they grow a lot, and they get to high school, and they just mature and become just great citizens and great graduates. So, you know, that's Vision 2026 right there, to be ready to break ground on this school for our children. So with that, Mr. Watt, I will entertain any questions you all have from the board side.
Let's see if I have a few questions, or Mr. Chairman, if you
Yes, go ahead.
please. Do we have any comparisons of what this will do to debt millage in comparison to the other Anderson County districts? Like if we add the 15 mills, where will it put us at in comparison?
Okay, Matthew actually did those comparisons today, so I think you have them with you. Do you want to come speak, or you want to speak from there?
Yeah, so I've got debt millage numbers just in comparison to the other Anderson districts as it stands today. Of course, we can't project out where they're gonna be when we expect this millage to hit. But just going in numeric order, District 1 is at 46 mills. District 2 is currently at 21. District 3 is currently at 38. District 4 is at 52. And then District 5 is at 12. So if adding the projected 15 would make us one higher than Anderson 4.
At 53?
At 53, that's correct. That's as it stands today.
And Matthew, I think it's worthwhile to show the whole picture and bring in that operational mills too, if it's okay, Ms. Arnold.
Now, that was gonna be my next
Okay.
question.
Yes.
How do we fare on that one as well?
And same order, operational mills, in District 1, they're at 196.94. District 2 is at 224.99, and that does include their standalone millage for their career center, since we fund ours locally with 3, 4, and 5. So District 3 is at 190.5. Anderson 4 is at 164.25, and Anderson 5 is at 191. And sort of to bring all that together, and if you want to look at a total millage perspective while we're at it, District 1's at 242.94, District 2 is at 245.99, District 3 is at 228.5, District 4 is at 216.25, and Anderson 5 is at 203. So from a total millage perspective, if you want to bring in operational and add it to that debt service, we are right in the middle of the pack at third, third, whether you look at highest or lowest, we're right there in the middle, with 1 and 2 being the highest, 3 third, 4th, second lowest, and 5 the lowest.
Now, the operational millage, we were 1 or 2 as the highest?
We're third there. So Anderson 4 is at 164.25. I was mistaken. Sorry, we're second lowest, and we're at 190.5, and then District 5 is at 191 even. So just by about half a mil, we're
If
second.
we add the 15,
15 that will not affect operational millage. That's only debt service.
Debt
millage.
service.
but when we go down to the debt millage, what ranking are we in that one?
Right now, we are. Let's see, we are third there. currently.
After we add the 15.
After we add the 15, that would put us the highest by 1.
Okay.
Question, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Moore.
Yes.
Okay, on cars, we got a $30,000 car, how much increase will it be on a car?
On a $30,000 vehicle, that will be an additional $27 per year, or $2.25 per month.
Okay. Farmland gonna change?
Farmland, I'd have to look at that one on a case-by-case basis, but I mean, I would imagine that would be similar to just any real property there. But it'd be a minimal impact for what those properties typically get valued at or taxed at.
For how many years?
For the repayment of the bond, it would be a 25-year repayment on that bond.
And when will Flat Rock be paid off?
Flat Rock is aligned. A lot of it, we had a refunding issue because there was a time to take advantage of some good interest rates several years back. And all of that was kind of structured to align with the sunsetting of the penny sales tax. So I believe that one falls off in 2030, if I'm not mistaken. But I can clarify that for you. A lot of the debt that was issued by the district was set up by the financial advisors to kind of mirror the expiration date of that penny sales tax to keep the millage as low as we possibly could while we could count on that. And I do want to, along those lines, I do want to make clear that we are not, this 15 mills is based on the sales tax sunsetting in 2030 and not being renewed. So that could be a potential opportunity if the community voted to renew that for another term, that mill number would look very different.
Can you elaborate on that just a little bit?
So in our projections 25 years out, we are not counting on any of the sales tax money that we discussed earlier. We're not counting on that money coming in.
Okay, because we get 20% of that toward the bonds,
Yes, that's right.
the bonds that we're having. So if we didn't get
Right.
that, it wouldn't go toward.
Right, that's right. And those 15 mills factors in that money no longer coming in after 2030.
And I think, I mean, since we went here, if we knew the penny sales tax was gonna be re-upped, we'd be starting at 7 mills.
If we knew that would pass.
If we knew that it was guaranteed, that's where we, and I don't wanna get into, that conversation yet, because that's probably gonna be 2028 when it comes on the ballot, but that's the impact if we knew we had that money, for sure.
So the 15 is the worst case scenario.
Right.
Right. We are hopeful for better numbers, but 15 is what we feel comfortable as a worst case scenario for you.
Mr. Moore, Mr. Moore, elaborate a little bit about the value of the mill, because that's kind of apples to oranges. Our values are a lot less on the mill versus District 5, so it may look that we may be just slightly under, but they're 191 million, that's a lot more money than we talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
I looked those up this week, and you want me, in general, Anderson 1's value of a mill is $350,000. Anderson 5 is about $450,000. Anderson 4's is $199,000. We looked at Anderson 2, I think is $95,000. And ours, if you look it up, it's gonna say $65,000, but when we do this, we base the percentage we think we'll get in, we take 10% off basically, or right around
So
that.
we met with the county folks and saw what we've collected over the past almost 10 years and got a good collection rate that everyone agreed to, got their support to move forward this. So we're budgeting with the value of a mill for debt service at $59,250.
A lot less than District
Significantly
5 and
less,
some of
that's
them
right.
others. That kind of puts it in perspective, because a lot, when you saying, 200 mills versus 190 mil, folks just don't really understand that there's a lot of difference in money.
That's right.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Of the 38 current debt service, how much of that's going to Flat Rock bond? I'm trying to get an idea of what will be freed up in 2030.
Basically everything freed up in 2030.
Yeah, pretty much all debt we have right now is gone after
All-
2030. It's all aligned with that, and we have payments kind of move up and down year after year for the things that are outstanding. Really, just but ultimately our total debt service obligation every year is stable until 2030.
What year did we start Flat Rock? 2008?
That sounds correct.
Shovels in my office. I
Absolutely.
think it's 06. I was gonna go look at the door clock.
Yeah.
So it was a 25-year bond.
I believe so. And again, there was an original issue and then a refunding issue. So there's been a few iterations of how we've serviced that debt that was needed for that project.
Got any other questions?
If I can add one thing, Matthew, you correct me if I get the numbers wrong, because I have approximate numbers, he deals in exact numbers, but in our county board budget, we had to kind of set aside, how much, is it 18 meals of our operations that goes to run AIT?
It's right around 20, a little under 20.
Yeah, and if you look back we haven't taken our operational millage, I think, in 3 years. And so if you look back, we kind of, about 3 years prior to that, took the operational millage, and I think it really kind of gave us the scope, because AIT's budget is about $500,000 to $600,000 of our budget. And so taking the millage those 3 years kind of set us up to put AIT in our budget. And I think that is kind of leveled out. And so, it's our goal to not have to take any more operational unless just something happens. But that's kind of what we had to do to get there to pay for AIT. And I think that's something that you all have done a good job and made it a goal not to take those 8 meals of operations if we didn't have to.
Anything else? So good? Yeah?
I think I'm good.
All right.
All right. Okay, so then I will read the referendum action item and then ask you to act on it, if that's okay. So at this point, I'd ask you for consideration of a resolution ordering a referendum in School District Number 3 of Anderson County, South Carolina, to submit to the electors of the school district the question of whether the school district shall be authorized to issue not exceeding $60 million general obligation bonds in one or more series, in one or more years, providing for the form of the ballot to be used, providing for notice of the referendum, and providing for all other matters necessary to submit the aforesaid question.
At this time, I need a motion to affirm her recommendation.
Make a motion to affirm the ordering of a referendum as stated by the superintendent.
Got a motion, we need a second.
Second.
You second? All right. Any further discussion before we take a vote? All in favor? All opposed? It's 5-0.
Wonderful. Thank you. Let's clap for that.
Them grandbabies be going there one day, won't they? Hey. All right, I'm gonna turn it over to our policy committee at this time.
Policy BEA.
Right.
Yes.
So policy BEA, that's live streaming of the board meetings. We had tabled that last time until we could make sure that we were live streaming when we brought it for the second reading. So we are live streaming tonight. And so I'd like to make a motion to have this to be our second reading on policy BEA.
All right, we have a motion to adopt on second reading for live streaming of board meetings. I entertain a second.
Second.
All right, all in favor? It'd be fine, okay?
The policy committee would like to recommend policy GCK, professional staff assignments and transfers, first reading.
Everything's good on that? All right, entertain a motion. You gonna put that in the form of a motion? All right. Need a second.
Second.
All right, have a motion and a second. All in favor? 5-0. All right,
The policy committee would like to also recommend the GCLE unencumbered time, first reading tonight.
all right.
So moved.
We have a motion to adopt policy GCLE. Need a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? 5-0.
And if I could just,
Do we have to have any discussion on those?
Do you want to discuss?
I was going
Yeah, she was going.
I just wanted to kind of point out with the unencumbered time policy, that we had to add just to that policy that unencumbered time covered nurses during the school day. So that was really the change. We'd already passed a policy about our elementary and middle having that unencumbered time, but there's a proviso that was passed this past session that asked us, when practical, the school nurse will be afforded the same unencumbered time, that 30 minutes. And so, and the reason it says impractical, if you've got an emergency, you're gonna disrupt their unencumbered time. And I think our principals were already doing that, but we just added it to our policy. There's also a part in that policy that I'll just point out, and I pointed this out to our staff when we passed it the first time, when it talks about the discipline there. The intentional failure of the school's principal to provide eligible teachers unencumbered time may result in disciplinary action. That was the way the law worded it and instructed us to word it, but it also makes sense because the principal is in charge of the staff in the building. And so, and ours do a great job making sure their teachers get that unencumbered time. But that is where that statement in that policy originated. That was part of the law that we had to include.
This time we're in an executive session.
Sounds good.
We have a contractual matter and also a personnel matter that we need to allude to in the executive session, so I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we enter.
Have a motion to enter the executive session
Second.
and a second. All in favor? 5-0. I certainly appreciate all y'all coming tonight. Thank all y'all for what y'all do for us.
Yes.
Look very.